Okay, today we're going to talk about blood types and how that's related to codominance in biology. So before we do that, let's just talk a little bit about what is actually in our blood. So there are three kinds of cells, and then there's also the liquid part, which is called plasma. So we'll start with the plasma on the bottom. When you remove all the cells from it, it almost looks like a bag of pee down here, okay? But it is actually just the liquid portion of our blood when you take all the cells out of it. Sometimes people donate plasma for other people. It contains your antibodies, it has the food in it that your body has digested, all the antibodies you made your entire life, all those things are in plasma. Okay, the next one going up are platelets. This is what helps our blood clot. So if you get a cut or a bruise, it stops the bleeding. So they're very important for us, obviously. White blood cells, and I know y'all these look purple, they've just been stained so you can see them. White blood cells are your infection fighters. So if there's a virus or a bacteria in your body, these are the ones that fight those. And then the red blood cells, which is the majority of what your blood is made out of, this is what carries oxygen for you. And the reason I saved this one for last is because it is on your red blood cells that there's a special protein that determines what blood type that you do have. And I'll put the link to this video up there so you can see that. Okay, so blood types are codominant, and it's different than what we've done before. So incomplete dominance means they blend. Codominance means they both show up, and it ends up being like its third own group, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute. So the guy that discovered this, his name was Carl Landsteiner. This was in the early 1900s, and he took blood from his colleagues and put it in a petri dish to watch it clot or not clot, and that's how he figured all this out. He actually got the Nobel Prize for it in 1930. He first discovered three blood types, and he called them A, B, and C, and then he later changed the C to an O because it doesn't have something on it, and I'll show you that in just a minute. And then he discovered the group AB a little bit later on. Okay, so what determines your blood type? There are proteins on the outside of the red blood cell. They're invisible, so you and I can't see them, but they're chemically there. So there are three kinds, and they just use this I, and I forget what that stands for, y'all. But A is one kind, B is another kind, and then this one means nothing. So you don't have neither A nor B on the outside of your red blood cells. You have no proteins on there. Okay, so the reason these are capital is because they are dominant. So they will beat out the one that has nothing on them. And then little I, which you and I call O, is recessive to A and B. But then if you receive one from your mom and one from your dad or vice versa, you end up with the fourth blood type, which is AB. Okay, so there are four possible blood types in humans. There's an A, a B, an AB, and an O. And I'll show you each of those individually on the next few screens, and I will put a link to this video that's actually pretty interesting. Okay, so let's talk about blood type A. This is actually what I have. So there are two ways you can have type A blood. You can obviously receive an A from one parent and an A from the other. So that would be homozygous A. Okay, and the other way you can have A blood is to get an A from one parent and an O from the other. So here's what I want you to think about. Just think about in math. Whenever you add 0 to any other number, the answer is the other number, right? So as an example, if I add 6 plus 0, my answer is 6. Okay, so if I add A plus 0, my answer is A. So you can be homozygous A or you can be heterozygous A. All right, so this is actually pretty common. 40% of the world's population has type A blood. So just to show you a diagram of it, imagine here's your A red blood cell, and these purple little circles, okay, are the A antigen. This is what I mean by the protein. Okay, now the reason A blood doesn't mix with B blood is because we have anti-Bs on the outside of this as well. Notice this is kind of triangular-ish or squarish, so this is going to match up with the B protein on the B blood cell and block it. Okay, All right, so phenotype B, same thing. You can get two B's from each parent, or you can get a B from one parent and an O from the other and still have type B. Okay, but you also have anti-A's. Notice how these are round. Okay, so that means they can actually hook up with these and they clot. So that's why A blood can't get B blood and B blood can't receive A blood. And we'll talk about that in a minute also. This one is a little bit rarer. Only 10% of the population has type B blood. Okay? All right, so then the third group, and the only way to receive AB, obviously, is if you get one A from one parent and a B from another parent. There is no other genotype that'll give you AB, and it has to be heterozygous. Very rare. 4% of the population has AB blood. Now, AB is kind of unique because it doesn't have any antigens, okay? Think about it though, we can't have an anti-A or an anti-B because it would attack itself, right? So it has both proteins on the outside and no antigens, okay? And this blood type is called the universal recipient, even though it is so rare. If I had blood type AB, I'd be sitting pretty if something happened because I could get type A, I could get type B, I could get type AB, and I could get type O. So in other words, you can't put any blood in me that's going to kill me. So AB is actually a good blood type to have. Okay? All right, then the last one is called phenotype O, and you can actually think of this O as a 0 because they have no proteins on the outside of their cell membrane here. See how they have none? But the problem is they have anti-A's and anti-B's. So if I tried to put A blood in an O person, it would clot. If I try to put B blood in an O person, it would clot. Same with AB. So even though O is considered the universal donor because it can be given to anyone, and that's usually what they have in blood banks and ambulances in case there's an emergency. However, if you have type O, you can only receive type O. So there is a downside to that. But look how common this is. 46% of the world's population has type O. That's very close to half. Okay, so obviously the only way to get O is homozygous recessive. You have to receive an O from your mom and an O from your dad. Okay? All right, so why is it important to know your blood type? Only if you need a transfusion, okay? Because if they give you the wrong kind of blood, it can clot. Think of it like making a giant scab inside your body, or your blood kind of turning thick like Jell-O. And obviously you can die from that, okay? All right, so let's move on to these. Let me show you how to do some problems here, okay? These, I've given you the genotype, so these are going to be a little bit easier. So let's do this first one here. If I'm going to do AA times BB, you just put the A's here, right? And the B's here, okay? So then if you do all of these crosses here, if the mom gives you an A and the dad gives you a B, okay, every one of these are going to be AB. Okay, so that is your only option. Now in this one, it looks like I've only given you one allele here, but remember with O, there's two of them. Okay, so then if I have AB here, this is kind of interesting. The top two are going to be AO, which is A. Remember, A plus 0 is just A. And then the bottom two are going to be BO. So it's interesting because all of your offspring will have a blood type that is different from both parents. So that means they can't receive the blood from the parents unless it's the O. Okay? Then when you cross an AB times an AB, this one's interesting too. Okay, you're going to get AA here. You'll get BB here. And these two would be what you expect. AB just like one parent and AB just like the parent. Okay, so 50% AB, 25% A, 25% B. All right, so let's do one that is more typical of the EOC. Okay, so a man is heterozygous for type A blood. So now remember, you know he has A, okay? And he's also heterozygous. So that means he has to have two different kinds. So the only way that could be is if we put AO. Okay, the woman has type O, so the only genotype would be would be OO, sorry. Okay, so then if I put these here, A, O, 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 okay, you're going to end up with two options, AO, AO, OO, and OO. So the question says, what are the possible genotypes and phenotypes of their children? Theoretically, 50% of their children would have type A blood and 50% would have type O blood. So if it asked you which ones are not possible, it would be anything that would take a B. So that would be B blood or AB blood. Those are both impossible. Okay, so let's try one more. This one is a little bit trickier because it doesn't tell you exactly what the blood type of the wife is. So a man has blood type O. We know his only option is OO, right? Okay, the woman says she has type B. Well, there's two ways you can have type B blood. Okay, you can have B homozygous or B heterozygous. So the reason I have two Punnett squares here is you have to account for both options. All right, we know the man only has O, so we can go ahead and fill him in. All right, the mom, she can either be homozygous, right, or heterozygous. So that's why we have to do two Punnett squares here. Okay, so all of these will end up being type B, right, BO, which turns into type B blood. And then down here you end up with two options though. Okay, we can have heterozygous B, or, oh, I did that wrong, didn't I? Or we could have O. Okay, so if the mom is heterozygous for her B blood type, then there's a 50-50 chance they'll have B or O. But the question says, which blood types are not possible? Well, we know if we can have B or O, then the ones that are not possible are A and AB. Okay, because there is no way, there's no A allele anywhere, so it's not possible for them to have that type. Okay, all right, a man is heterozygous for type A blood. I like this one because it gives you something specific. Okay, so the man is heterozygous for A, his wife has AB, so we're not going to have, we're going to have only one Punnett square to do, AO, AB. Okay, so then if we put them together, this would be A homozygous. We'll put these two together. Okay, that's A heterozygous. And then the bottom ones, we should end up with an AB. Okay, and then this one over here would be a BO. Okay, what % chance do their kids have of inheriting type O blood? Well, remember guys, even though you see two O's here, you have an A and a B. So this is dominant, so it powers over this. So this is A, this is A, this is AB, and this is B. So the chance of inheriting O blood is 0%, because there's no way for two O's to actually get together. Okay? So don't be afraid if you end up with a 0 as an answer on the EOC. It is totally possible. Okay, all right, so I'm going to give you guys some blood type problems to practice. If you need some help, please email me and I can get on Google Meet with you or do some practice problems with you or head you in the right direction. Thank you. You guys have a great day.